I never imagined my unemployed sister would burst into my home declaring, "I'll live here." Her voice was a mix of fury and desperation, echoing off the walls like a thunderclap. I stood there, stunned, my heart pounding in my chest, but I could see the tears brimming in her eyes. They weren't just tears, they were a vast ocean of hurt and anger. She had always been the wild one, the free spirit, but today she looked lost, a fragile version of herself, crumbling before me. It was a rainy afternoon, the kind where the sky weeps as if it knows something we don't. I had just poured myself a steaming cup of coffee, the aroma filling the room, but it felt like poison now. I glanced around, at the family photos on the wall, snapshots of happier times when we laughed together, when hope still lingered in the air. But all of that felt so distant. "You don't understand," she shouted, waving her hands dramatically, trembling with every word. "I can't go back. I want to go back." I could see the desperation dancing in her eyes, the wildness making her seem almost untethered. The kind of chaos I hadn't seen in her since our childhood when we played in the backyard, screaming, full of life. Now, that life seemed like a fragile glass teetering on the edge of a table that I wanted to reach out, to pull her back to me, back to safety, but I felt paralyzed. Memories of her past, of failed interviews and endless rejections, flashed through my mind like an old film reel. Those rejections had chipped away at her spirit. I could see how deeply they hurt her. A choking lump rose in my throat, and I wanted to tell her it would be okay, that we could face this together. But the silence between us felt heavier than words. "No. You have to listen," she cried, voice trembling, as if the weight of the world rested on her shoulders. I watched as she paced, wringing her hands, her breath coming out in quick gasps. "I lost everything. My job. My apartment. I can't do this alone." The sting of her pain stung me like ice water, freezing my resolve. Outside, the rain drummed against the window, casting shadows that felt ominous, like they were hiding secrets. The walls of my home felt like they were closing in, the very air thick with tension. I could feel the eyes of the universe watching us, holding its breath for what would come next. My fingers grazed the edge of the kitchen counter, a solid surface, yet in that moment it felt meaningless. "Just give me a chance," she begged. The desperation in her voice sliced through me. "I promise I won't be a burden." Her plea hung in the air, shimmering with uncertainty, echoing back at me like a plea for salvation. What would it mean to let her in? I wanted to cry, wanted to scream, but I stood frozen, caught between love and fear. I could hear the clock ticking, marking every second of silence between us. What was the cost of letting her stay? Could I truly bear the weight of her pain alongside my own? The door creaked, and suddenly, there it was, the faint sound of someone knocking. It was strange, I wasn't expecting anyone. It pulled me away from the moment, the reality of my sister's turmoil crashing back into focus. I turned towards the door, my heart racing. Who could it be? And just like that, the tension snapped. I looked back at her, breathless. "What now?" I whispered, my voice shaking. As the knocking grew louder, shadows of doubt danced in the corners of my mind. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the knocking grew more insistent, I felt a chill creep over me, as if the shadows in my mind were growing darker. My gaze flicked back to my sister, whose face had drained of color. The stormy pitch of uncertainty between us thickened, a palpable tension that wrapped us in its suffocating embrace. What if it's someone? Her voice trailed off, a spark of fear in her eyes. I noticed how she instinctively moved closer to me, her wild spirit now seeking safety. The moment felt surreal, as if we were both children again, huddled under a blanket during a thunderstorm. Should I open it? I hesitated, torn between carrying the weight of her chaos and the specter of an unknown visitor that could shake our fragile moment even further. She nodded slowly, her gaze lingering on the door as if it might hold the answers to the storms swirling within us. That I approached the door, each step heavy with trepidation. As I turned the handle, I half expected to find the world as we knew it dwindling on the threshold, perhaps a messenger of bad news or more burdens to bear. Instead, when I swung it open, I was met with the unexpected sight of an elderly woman from the neighborhood, her kind smile lighting up the shadows of my home. "I brought you some soup, dear," she said, her voice warm and soothing, cutting through the tension like a ray of sun breaking through the clouds. The bright orange pot she carried was a stark contrast to the gray drabness around us. I heard it was a rough day. For a moment, I was taken aback, caught off guard by the woman's simple yet powerful act of kindness. The warmth radiating from the soup enveloped me, a stark reminder that in the midst of chaos, there were still glimmers of hope. My sister's eyes flickered with confusion, melding into gratitude, and for the briefest moment, we shared a soft smile, acknowledging the purity of the moment. "Thank you," I managed, my throat tight with emotion as I gestured for her to come inside. The elderly woman stepped in, her presence filling the space with an almost forgotten vibrancy, as if the charm of the past could somehow leave its mark on our troubled hearts. "What a lovely home you have," she said, glancing around. "It feels so warm and welcoming." I could see the way her words hit my sister, a tiny flicker of light amid her darkness, stirring something deep within her. "I'm not sure how warm it is today," my sister finally said, her voice softer, as she stepped forward to take a look at the colorful soup pot. "But thank you, really. It means a lot." "It's nothing, dear," the woman said, waving her hand dismissively yet with a knowing look that seemed to see right through the facades we wore. "Everyone needs a little support every now and then. You're not alone, you know." Those words landed heavy on my heart. My sister had lived in isolation and denial for far too long. The cocoon she had wrapped herself in was beginning to unravel, thread by painful thread. And here they were, two women, one a stranger, the other my sister, beginning to weave a fragile connection amidst their struggles. As I ladled out the soup into bowls, I felt the tension between my sister and me start to soften, morphing into a curious blend of apprehension and emerging hope. How much did we need this moment? This kindness wrapped in a porcelain bowl, served with a side of understanding, just as we settled down to eat, an unsettling thought invaded my mind. Would this moment of warmth only serve to distract us from the tempest brewing below the surface? My sister's heartache had yet to be addressed, and the mounting debt obligations waited like vultures, circling, ready to prey on her vulnerabilities. "Maybe we could," I started, but the doorbell rang again, louder this time, jolting me out of my thoughts. Before I could respond, my sister's eyes widened, and for the first time in ages, I saw a flicker of panic seep in. "Who else could it be?" she whispered, the wildness flashing back as she clutched her soup like it was a lifeline. "I can't face anyone else right now." The tremor in her voice made my heart ache for her. Once more that I glanced at the door, my pulse quickening. "Stay here," I whispered, but she shook her head, determination mixing with fear in her eyes. "No. Not again. I can't let them see me like this." Before I could argue further, she dashed toward the door, her wild spirit wresting back its strength. But as she reached for the handle, I felt a gnawing dread clawing at my insides. What if this was someone who could shatter the fragile truce we had just begun to rebuild? The second she opened the door, time seemed to slow. I braced myself for what lay beyond, anxiety pooling heavy in my stomach. The face staring back was one I hadn't seen in years, a figure from my past I had hoped to leave far behind, my sister's former boss. My sister's stomach clenched, and mine dropped, and in that single moment, everything swirled back to uncertainty once again. "Anna!" my sister's boss exclaimed. "We need to talk." "What now?" As the door swung open, the air thickened with unspoken words and heavy memories. My sister's former boss stood there, a formidable presence in a tailored blazer that seemed stark against the disarray of our home. The warmth that had briefly embraced us melted away, leaving only the cold grip of past regrets and future fears. "Anna!" came the authoritative voice, slicing through the stillness. We need to talk. For a moment, my sister hesitated. The soup sat forgotten, cooling slowly on the table, forgotten warmth drifting off into the air. I stepped forward instinctively, determination to shield her rising within me like a protective barrier. Can't it wait? I interjected, my words laced with a defensive edge I hadn't intended to reveal. No, it can't wait, the boss cut me off sharply, her eyes scanning the disarray of our lives. Anna, you're in a precarious position, and I'm here to help. You have to understand the urgency of the situation. My sister's face was a palette of anxiety and defiance. I'm not going back. Not to that place. Not ever. The bravado in her voice ignited my own fear. She had wrestled her demons for too long, and the last thing I wanted was for her to be dragged back into a world that cared little for her well-being. Anna, please, the boss pleaded, her voice softening just a notch, a hint of concern creeping through her corporate veneer. I understand this is difficult, but I can't let you just fall off the radar. You have talent. You need to collaborate. Let me help you. Her words hung in the air like a fragile thread, threatening to fray at any moment. As much as I wanted to believe that this woman truly had my sister's best interests at heart, the shadows of the past loomed large. Anna had once poured herself into her work, only to be spat out by a system that demanded too much and offered too little. And what would it mean for me to go back? Anna's voice trembled, though her gaze was fierce. It would mean returning to a place that left me lost and empty. You want to help? Then let me be. The silence stretched taut, a rubber band about to snap. I could see the pain in my sister's expression as she stood her ground, yet there was also a flickering uncertainty in her eyes. A fear of losing herself that had haunted her for so long. Maybe you're stronger than you think, the boss offered, her tone shifting slightly, a hint of sincerity hidden beneath layers of professionalism. But avoiding your responsibilities will only condemn you to a life of mediocrity. I could help you rediscover the passion you had and I still believe is in you. The storm raged on inside Anna, her emotions churning and battling like the dark clouds above. I stepped closer, placing a hand on her shoulder, offering a faint smile. You're not alone in this, sis. Whatever you decide, we'll face it together. She glanced back at me, and in that fleeting moment, I saw the girl she used to be, the one who lit up the world around her with laughter and dreams. I wanted to believe that spirit was still alive, the wild flame less extinguished than dimmed. You think you can just walk in here and make demands? My sister finally shot back, but her voice trembled, a mix of defiance and a glimmer of vulnerability. I'm offering you an opportunity, Anna, her boss replied evenly. Yes, you've been through a lot, but it doesn't mean you need to cut ties with the world. You have value, and it's time you step into that power. Let us reframe this narrative. The initial sting of her words turned into a gentle nudging, beckoning my sister to rethink the path before her. Yet there remained a steep precipice ahead, one laden with risks and history. Let us just take a moment, I urged, uncertain about what my sister would choose. We can figure this out. There's no rush. As we stood in a small circle, surrounded by our meager possessions and a pot of cooling soup, the room began to feel smaller, walls closing in with each breath. A light-hearted conversation about a potential path forward turned tense as Anna's emotions fought to break free. Will you take some time to think about it? Her boss pressed gently. Just as Anna opened her mouth to respond, perhaps to take a step toward mending the rift between past dreams and present fears, a loud crash echoed from outside, startling us. I rushed to the window, peering out into the stormy dusk, dread pooling in my stomach, and then I saw a figure sprawled in the street, a darkness surrounding them. My heart raced as adrenaline surged through me. Oh no, someone's hurt. I turned back to my sister, but not before catching the momentary flicker of hope extinguished in her eyes, an indication of a battle I couldn't yet comprehend. The weight of the world bore down on her shoulders, and the silent promises I had made to protect her felt more fragile than ever. Wait, Anna began, but her voice was drowned out by the rising panic within me. Whatever this moment could have been, whatever path led toward healing was slipping through our fingers faster than we could grasp it. Stay here. I urged, grabbing my coat as I sprinted out the door, leaving my sister and her former boss behind, oblivious to the storm swirling within, bracing myself for what awaited me in the darkness. The rain hammered down, the sky weeping as I stepped into the chaos unfolding before me. Heart thundering, I rushed across the slick pavement, the sharp edge of urgency slicing through my thoughts. There, on the ground, lay a figure amidst the shards of glass from a nearby storefront, remnants of a life disrupted. A shattered image reflecting back at us in the storm. My mind raced with snippets of first aid knowledge from years ago, but this wasn't a classroom. This was real. Panic clutched at my throat as I knelt beside the figure, my hands trembling as I checked for signs of life. A sharp gasp escaped my lips when I recognized the familiar face. Derek, a childhood friend who had slipped through the cracks over the years, lost in a haze of his own struggles. Derek. I called, my voice barely reaching him above the storm's roar. Thunder crackled ominously, and the world around us fell away, reduced to the two of us wrestling with destiny on the slick asphalt. His eyes fluttered open, confusion clouding his features. What? I don't try to move. Just stay still. I urged, instinctively holding his shoulders down. I'm calling for help. But before I could reach for my phone, the world felt unsteady. A sense of foreboding weighed heavy in the air, as if fate had woven a thread connecting our lives into a larger tapestry of shared struggles. A shiver ran down my spine as I recalled last summer, the days when Derek had confided in me about his dreams and disappointments, speaking of potential like it was a foreign language. Now, that potential lay fractured beneath the deluge, his gaze turned fierce. Where's Anna? My heart sank, the familiar flicker of dread igniting anew. She's at home. What happened to you? I was just trying to think, he murmured between labored breaths. Everything just fell apart. Blood trickled from a gash on his forehead, tracing a crimson line down his cheek. The storm that had recently felt distant and surreal now felt all too visceral, the echoes of our past reverberating ominously in the cold night air. Just as I was about to reply, another crash boomed in the distance, breaking the heavy moment like an egg thrown against concrete. My mind reeled. It was a reminder of uncertainty, stirring memories I wished to keep dormant. Derek, stay awake. Help is on the way. I pressed, determined not to lose grip of this moment, but amiss in my own spiraling thoughts. Tell Anna I'm sorry, he whispered, and the tremor in his voice struck a chord deep within me, a thread weaving my heart closer to his. But how could I offer solace when I felt lost amidst the chaos, the fear of the unknown taunting me with every beat? Finally, sirens wailed in the distance, a glimmer of hope slicing through the gloom. Relief flooded me, but the warmth was fleeting, dashed by the ugly reality of our lives. We were all fighting the same demons, just in different battles. As the ambulance doors swung open, the paramedics rushed toward us, bathed in the artificial glow of their lights. They took over, expertly assessing the scene, but Derek's eyes remained fixed on me, pleading for assurance. I reached for his hand, squeezing tightly, hoping to reassure him that he wasn't alone in this storm. You'll be okay, I whispered, though I wasn't entirely sure if I believed that. Before they loaded him onto the stretcher, he managed a faint smile, fragile but genuine, as if he was trying to lighten the weight of despair that clung to us both. It was a moment of connection amidst a deluge of chaos, a reminder of the kindness this world occasionally allows us to taste. Despite his struggles, there flickered that same spirit from childhood, the one that fought fiercely against adversity. Please tell Anna I'm okay, he repeated, and once more the burden of unspoken truths pressed heavily upon my chest. I will, I promised, squeezing his hand one last time before they whisked him away into the ambulance, sirens growing fainter as I watched the vehicle disappear into the rain, turning back toward home, the vivid chaos of the storm and my sister's potential. Confrontation loomed before me like a specter. I felt heavy with uncertainty, each step forward a bridge towards devastating revelations awaiting me. When I finally entered the house, I found Anna standing in the same spot, her expression a blend of worry and hope, a delicate teetering on the edge of anguish. Her former boss remained, arms crossed, the tension between them thick but more palpable now, as if we were on the brink of reshaping our destinies or shattering them entirely. Where were you? Anna breathed, the moment I stepped through the door. Her worry was a palpable weight that hung heavy in the air. "There was an accident," I said, my voice trembling, the urge to share the details clawing at me. "Derek, he's hurt. He needs our help." A flicker of recognition ignited in Anna's eyes, and in that moment, I saw our shared history. Much like Derek, we had strayed into adversities we never anticipated. No, the word was a whisper, but the finality rang deeply. "Not him too." I hadn't realized it, but Anna's hand had instinctively gripped the table's edge like a lifeline. Just then, her former boss took a step forward, her demeanor shifting abruptly, frail professionalism replaced with genuine concern. "Maybe this is the moment for you both to realize that life will keep challenging you," she said, her tone softer, the sharpness ebbing away. "But hope can still emerge from the wreckage." I wanted to believe her, but the shadows in Anna's eyes grew darker, fears rising like smoke from a flame. "I can't bear to lose anyone else," she confessed, vulnerability slipping through her defenses. "Not Derek. Not us." The air stilled in that moment, the promise of words left unsaid hanging like the rain outside. A storm raged within, thunder rumbling louder with every heartbeat, and suddenly I feared the depths of uncharted emotions that lay ahead. There was no clear sanctuary from the waves of our past and future colliding, the echoes of sorrow pressing down on us like the petrichor scent of the rain-soaked earth begging for release. "Tomorrow," I whispered, clutching her hand as tightly as I still clutched onto hope. "We'll find a way to get through this together." But the truth was, I felt the darkness pulling at my heels, fear twined with the threads of our uncertainty, leaving us both trembling at the edge of hope's fragile existence. How many more storms could we endure before they swept us away? And just as I thought we had a sliver of hope to cling to, Anna's gaze diverted towards the window, her expression drained of color as disbelief seized her. "I can't believe it," she murmured, staring wide-eyed. "Is that?" I turned, following her gaze. Through the rain-slicked glass, a figure emerged from the shadows, a silhouette I had never expected to see again, a ghost from our past stepping boldly into the storm. The air crackled with a mix of disbelief and dread as I stared at the figure standing just beyond the threshold, framed by the oppressive downpour. The heartache contained within me swelled at the sight of her, a fragment of our shared past I thought had been left behind. "Emily," I breathed, the name hovering in the space between us, heavy with unsaid words and unresolved tension. Anna's hand fell away from mine, her grip loosening as confusion tightened the furrowed lines on her brow. "What is she doing here?" The tone was clipped, laden with memories that didn't wait for our consent to surface. "Derek needs help, Anna," I reminded her, torn between the urgency of the current moment and the storm of emotions swirling from the figure now soaking on our doorstep. Emily had been a friend, a sister in arms against a world that felt unbearably heavy, until her own battles had dragged her away. My heart raced, torn in two, as she stared back at us, vulnerability mingling with desperation on her drenched face. "I came back," Emily said, her voice barely audible over the rhythmic patter of the rain. Her eyes darted around the room, searching for solace amid the chaos we had all been navigating. I didn't know where else to go. The truth hit me harder than any storm. This wasn't just an unexpected visit. I sensed an unspoken plea beneath her words, a burden she desperately sought to unload. A flicker of empathy ignited within me, yet I felt the weight of Anna's frustration hovering between us, creating a chasm that neither would dare to cross without a bridge of understanding. "Where have you been?" Anna asked, the sharpness in her voice cutting through the air like glass splintering underfoot. "You just vanished, left everything behind." "I know I messed up," Emily admitted, her voice breaking. The storm outside seemed to echo her turmoil. "But I didn't come here to dig up the past. I want to be here for you both. I'm trying." There was a raw honesty in her eyes, a spark of the girl I once knew flickering in the shadows. Before I could respond, Anna pressed forward, fueled by frustration and hurt radiating like static electricity. "You think you can just come back after all this time? After everything that happened?" Her stance shifted, arms crossing defensively, as if warding off inevitable vulnerability. "You don't understand what has been going on. We're not okay." The air thickened, tension sparking like dry kindling in a summer sun. I wanted to interject, to ease Anna's hurt, but that would require us addressing the very rift that had widened over the years. We've all been through so much, I said gently, trying to defuse the moment, but the fragility of our situation constricted everything. Let us just breathe for a moment. Emily stepped into the space, uninvited yet undeniably present, though her approach was softer than I anticipated. I'm not asking you to forgive me, she said, her voice steadying. But I need you to know I'm here now. Maybe I will help. I don't need your help, Anna declared, her voice sharper now, breaking into my small thread of hope. The words looped tightly around us, the burgeoning potential of unity slipping into despair. A flurry of thoughts washed over me. Why now, after all these years? The two people I cared for most seemed poised to clash with one another, their histories colliding like angry waves crashing against jagged rocks. This isn't the time to fight, I urged, glancing between them, desperation crawling under my skin. Please. But neither appeared to hear me. Anna shook her head vehemently, and at that moment, I felt the full weight of responsibility pushed down on me like layers of dark clouds. Here we were, three friends war-torn by life, each grappling with losses and fears that had twisted our paths apart. Now, in the face of a shared struggle, could we really find a way back to each other? For a moment, a silence stretched taut between us, the tension vibrating in the air. Emily looked at me, and there was something in her gaze I hadn't expected, an invitation to hope, or perhaps a plea for understanding. The silence broke with a shuddering breath. Derek is in the hospital, I finally said, my own uncertainty creeping into the cracks of my voice, affecting us all. He needs us. Anna, we can't keep tearing one another apart. Can we try to do this together? At that moment, a different kind of reckoning loomed in the air, as outside, the storm raged on. Anna flicked her gaze back toward Emily, hesitating, searching for signs of the girl we once knew, thoughts tangled in the rain-darkened corridors of her heart. Emily stepped closer, unyielding yet prayerful, and something flickered in Anna's blue eyes, hesitation perhaps, or maybe a glimmer of reconciliation. What if he doesn't make it? She whispered, and the vulnerability twisted painfully around us again, an unwelcome truth that threatened to break us apart forever. Before I could respond, the door swung wide open and a gust of wind billowed through the warmth of our living room, wrapping around us and bringing an unexpected chill. It was then that a sudden object fell to the floor, a weathered journal, soaked through, that had been lodged under a nearby table, dislodged by the wind's intrusion. I recognized it instantly, a remnant from our past, Emily's journal. What's that? Anna asked, her voice now softer, curiosity eclipsing anger as the tension shifted. Without thinking, I picked up the journal, noting the ink that had blurred from the water but still told countless stories, possibly her own, maybe accounts of us all shared under moonlit skies and whispered dreams. Glancing at Emily, I saw something flutter behind her eyes, a flicker of the girl who had broken our hearts and healed them in the same breath. I think we should read it, I suggested, daring the world around us to pause, hoping for a breakthrough within those pages. Maybe this was the bridge we needed, a way to navigate towards understanding each other's pain and finding a semblance of hope again. The three of us drew closer, and as I carefully opened the worn pages, I felt the breath of possibility filling the air, mingling with the scent of rain-soaked earth. Uncertainty loomed large, but as the first few words materialized under the flickering light, I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever lay ahead was destined to bind us tighter together or threaten to tear us apart entirely, unearthing the darkest shadows we hadn't dared to confront. The pages creaked with age as I opened the journal, revealing Emily's handwriting, familiar yet distant, a thread that had once woven us all together. My fingers brushed over the words, as if by touching them, I could conjure the echoes of laughter and shared dreams that had long since faded into memory. Samantha, I read aloud, the name resurrecting a piece of our past. Each letter felt heavy with years filled with laughter and heartbreak, moments we thought we could rely on to last forever. The kind of moments that felt invincible before life threw its storms. I remember the summer we all spent together in that little cabin by the lake. I continued, letting the words wash over us. Emily wrote this just after you left, Anna. I glanced at Anna, who leaned forward, her eyes narrowing, drawn into the memories unfurling before us. I thought we had forever. I wish I could take back the mistakes I made. I often wonder what would happen if I had stayed. The words pierced the air like shards of glass, each one a reminder of the choices that had driven us apart. Emily shifted nervously beside me, her gaze a mix of hope and fear, a reflection of what was at stake. I was so lost, she said quietly, her voice trembling. I thought I was doing the right thing. I wanted to protect you both. Anna didn't respond, and for a moment, I could feel the tension wrap around us like a thick fog. I turned the pages, desperate for a sign of healing, desperate to find the words that might bring solace to our crumbling foundation. Though the ink remained glistening with vulnerability, the rain outside subsided to a soft murmur, almost as if it, too, was waiting for us to piece together our fractured hearts. I pressed onward through the entries, discovering scribbled moments of joy, fear, resentment, and the way life had intricately entwined our stories. I wish things could have ended differently, but I'm afraid I'm beyond repair. I don't know how to face either of you. My heart clenched as I spoke, realizing that Emily's fears mirrored our own, the fear of being broken beyond recognition, the fear of loss, of being left behind. I never meant to leave you in the dark, Emily whispered, shame casting a shadow over her words. I thought I was protecting you both by removing myself, but instead, I left you facing everything alone. Anna's expression softened slightly, but a wall still lingered, bricks of pain and mistrust stacked high between us. Maybe we were all lost, she muttered, her eyes flicking between the pages of the journal and Emily's face. You weren't the only one who felt abandoned. With a shaky breath, I continued reading, feeling the underscores of our shared history playing out in the space around us. I remember the way Sam would always find a way to laugh, even in the worst of times. I wish I'd held on tighter. I need you both to know that I'm still here, trying to find my way back. As I looked up, I was stunned to find Anna now looking directly at Emily, a flicker of recognition igniting in her gaze. The unease in the air began to shift, nodding tightly, dare I hope, towards something understanding, forgiveness, connection. In that moment, my phone buzzed unexpectedly on the table, breaking the spell. I glanced at the notification, a text message from the hospital. My heart sank. I had almost forgotten the urgency of the moment, of why we were here. Is it about Derek? Anna asked, her voice strained. I nodded, my heart hammering in my chest. I opened the message, read it, and froze. They want to talk to us about his condition, I said, a wave of nausea washing over me. Emily's eyes widened, and Anna's hands clenched, the fragile hope we had built teetering on the edge like the fragile branches outside, swaying in the last breaths of the storm. We need to go, I said, urgency coursing through me. But what about this? Anna gestured to the journal, and I could feel the interwoven sense of urgency and connection ebbing with every second. What about us? We don't have time. Derek needs us, I insisted, feeling the tension of our moment. Unraveling back to fear and uncertainty. We can address everything else later. As we all made our way toward the door, the world outside seemed to have changed, as if reflecting our inner turmoil. The storm had passed, leaving a world drenched in lingering shadows. The rain-soaked pavement glimmered like a fresh canvas, yet it felt as if our lives were just beginning to obscure the outlines of the uncertainties awaiting us at the hospital. But as we crossed the threshold, a faint sound echoed behind us, a quiet shuffle, as if someone else had entered our shared past. With a breath, I turned, half expecting to see a wild-eyed stranger or perhaps a ghost. Instead, a newfound network of memories pulled me under a thread unspooling that spoke of connections lost and reforged. In the background, the journal lay open, pages still quivering with unspoken truths and raw emotion. The door creaked, and just as I turned back to face Emily, I heard it, a gentle voice, hauntingly familiar, that left me suspended in horror. I'm back for more than just the past. Before I could comprehend, the whispered essence of words hung in the air, laden with the weight of secrets waiting to be unveiled. My heart sank as dread unfurled within me. Was it possible that this reunion would expose far more than we could ever hope to understand? With my heart racing, I strained to grasp the identity of the voice, desperately seeking the face behind the familiarity that sent chills coursing through my veins. There, framed in the doorway, stood Claire, my sister, who had been missing for nearly 2 years. She looked older, worn down by ghosts of her own making, her eyes flickering with a mix of defiance and fragility. Claire, I whispered, disbelief clawing at my throat. What are you doing here? For a moment, the weight of the world hung between us, heavy and suffocating. In the past, Claire had been a beacon of mischief and laughter, but that light had dimmed after a series of personal tragedies, a battle with her own demons that had led her away from us, away from her home. Now here she was, a ghost resurrected, empty yet full of chaotic energy. I couldn't stay away any longer, she said, seeming almost to plead from the threshold. There's so much I need to explain. You don't understand. Before I could process the myriad of questions swirling in my mind, the throbbing urgency of the hospital visit struck again, pulling at my heart like an insistent tide. I glanced at Anna and Emily, frozen in the moment, mouths agape, grappling with the surrealness of our reunion. Derek, I murmured, my voice falling flat against the walls that had once resonated with laughter but now stood like witnesses to our grief. He needs us. Claire stepped forward, a determined look painted across her face. You can't leave like this, Sam. I know I vanished, but I came back for a reason. Please, listen to me first. Torn between duties and the emotional tempest brewing before me, I hesitated. Emily's eyes darted between Claire and me, mirroring the sprawl of confusion unfolding in my chest. Anna, however, broke the silence, her voice a razor's edge amidst our confusion. Your timing is impeccable, Claire, but right now, our brother's life is at stake, she said, incredulity lacing her words. But this is about more than that. Claire insisted, her voice rising, reverberating with urgency. I can't let you all walk away from what's coming. There are things you still don't know, that it involves Derek too. Every syllable sent a ripple through my already frayed nerves, and I clenched my fists, choking on the impulse to push her away. What do you mean it involves Derek? How? After everything. A flicker of panic brimming in Claire's honey-brown eyes momentarily stole my breath. I didn't come back to stir the pot or to be a burden. I came to warn you. There are forces at play, forces you won't believe. Claire, I said, raising my hand in a halting gesture, we don't have time for conspiracies. We have to focus on Derek. Whatever you think you know can wait. But as the words left my mouth, I felt my resolve waver in the face of her desperation. Something profound shimmered beneath her surface, whisperings of buried truths pressing against the bounds of familial loyalty. I had to wonder what secrets lurked behind her sudden return. What shadows trailed her? Can you promise me one thing? Claire's voice tightened, each word heavy. Before you leave, just hear me out. Torn, I turned back towards Emily and Anna. What do you think? My voice trembled with the enormity of the choice before us. Anna's brow furrowed in contemplation. We can't ignore the past anymore, can we? Maybe she's right. If there's something dangerous, or if she's just trying to draw attention to herself, I countered, feeling a surge of protectiveness. Yet even I could hear the waning notes of certainty in my own voice. Can you please try to trust me? Claire implored, desperation thickening the air. I came back to make amends, to help my brother before it's too late. A fragment of something I couldn't name fluttered in my chest. Hope. Fear. Hope tinged with fear. I nodded slowly, resolved to find out what Claire had to say, if only to rid myself of the uncertainty nagging at me, and as we stood in that moment, voices trembling with unresolved pain and longing, I felt a shift. Together, we turned back toward Claire, waiting for her to unveil the secrets that had bound her spirit into hiding, secrets that could tear apart what remained of our fragile bond or unite us in ways we never could have imagined. But just as she opened her mouth to share, a phone call erupted in the charged silence, a plea for attention that drove a dagger of urgency through us. I glanced down to find a missed call from the hospital, and the dread inside me swelled, another twist of fate pulling our stories further apart. Claire looked at me, desperation etched across her face. Please, Sam, don't walk away again, she implored, and everything inside me screamed that I was on the brink of breaking, of shattering altogether. I inhaled sharply, grappling with the decision I had to make. The air thickened, tension unspooling as the weight of our standing on the precipice of truth pressed down. In that moment, I knew nothing would remain untouched after this. Not our past, not our futures, nothing. Whatever revelation awaited us, it was knocking at the door. And I couldn't shake the sensation that everything, the impending dangers, the shadows of our history, Claire's return, would collide in ways we had never anticipated, leaving us hanging on the last thread of connection we had. The sudden ringing of the phone sliced through the thick atmosphere, and I felt my heart rate quicken. It was a lifeline, a reminder that the world outside our fraught reunion was still spinning, indifferent to our turmoil. I glanced around the small living room, where the weight of unresolved emotions hung heavy in the air. The look on Claire's face was one of stark vulnerability, as if the stakes had risen beyond what we could fathom. "Sam," Anna said softly, her voice breaking through my thoughts, "you should answer it. It could be about Derek." With shaking hands, I pressed the button to return the call, bracing myself for the news that could either be a relief or a devastating blow. As the phone rang, I positioned myself closer to Claire, torn between my brother's impending crisis and my sister's haunting past. "Come on," I muttered under my breath, my anxiety simmering as I was transported back to the hospital, back to the sterile walls filled with whispers of hope and despair. Finally, a familiar voice crackled through the line, pulling me from my spiraling thoughts. "Sam. It's Dr. Elkins. We need you to come in. There's been a development regarding Derek's condition." "Is he okay?" I asked, anxiety gripping my chest. "Please, come as soon as you can," Dr. Elkins replied, his tone serious, inexplicably ominous. The implications wrapped around me like barbed wire, tightening with every passing second. As I ended the call, a sharp silence enveloped us once again. Claire looked at me, her eyes wide with fear, as if she could sense the seismic shift occurring in my mind. "What's happening?" she asked, her voice suddenly weak. "Derek, he needs us at the hospital. There's a development, that's all Dr. Elkins would say," I explained, my voice unsteady but firm. "Then you have to go," Claire urged, her hands trembling slightly. "Sam, please, you can't let anything happen to him." "I can't leave you here," I replied, torn between family obligations that felt both urgent and suffocating. "What if you vanish again?" Disappointment flickered across her face, mingling with a hint of understanding. "I came back to fight for him, Sam. I swear. If there's something dangerous, if those forces are what I think, you'll need me beside you. We can't ignore what's happening." Anna stepped forward, her brow furrowed. "Is Derek okay? What do we do? We can't just sit here." I glanced helplessly between my sisters, unable to shake the feeling of being pulled in multiple directions. The ever-deepening chaos within me mirrored the turmoil in the room. "Okay," I finally said, my voice trembling with determination. "We're going to the hospital. Together." Using my phone, I quickly texted Emily to meet us there, instinctively knowing she'd want to be part of this turmoil. Regardless of her reservations about Claire, the four of us bundled into the car, the silence pressing heavily against my chest as we drove through the familiar streets. The world outside moved in slow motion, cloaked in an unsettling fog that seemed to mimic the confusion swirling in my mind. Claire sat in the back seat, her brow creased in thought. "You said Dr. Elkins is the doctor who treated Derek during the fall," she began tentatively. "He is," I confirmed, the memory of that day twisting like a knife in my gut. The echoes of sirens, the frantic rush to the hospital, and the weight of uncertainty had marked that moment forever within my heart. "Listen, there's something I need to warn you about," Claire said softly, her eyes piercing into mine as if searching for the right words. "It's more than just Derek's health. When I left, I got involved with people, dangerous people. This isn't just about family anymore, it goes beyond that. They're connected, and they won't stop until they find him." My heart sank. How could this possibly involve Derek? My voice broke, bitterness coating my desperation. "He's just a kid caught in a crossfire we didn't even know existed." Claire's expression hardened. "No, Sam. You don't understand. He's a part of something bigger, and if we don't hurry, we might lose him in ways we can't even fathom." As I pulled into the hospital parking lot, dread washed over me. The fluorescent lights glared harshly, illuminating a world where fear and hope intersected. I stepped out of the car, my heart pounding mercilessly, thrumming with the weight of impending judgment. As we raced through the hospital doors, I felt Claire's presence next to me, a reminder that our pasts were intertwined in ways I hadn't yet grasped. We were facing something far darker than our family's scarred history. Just then, a nurse rushed towards us, her face ashen. "Sam, right?" she called, her tone urgent. "I need you to come with me. It's about Derek." Before I could respond, before I could even digest the nurse's words, I caught a glimpse of movement from the corner of my eye. Someone was standing in the shadows of the waiting area, a figure I thought I would never see again. My mind spiraled as I met the gaze of a person I once had only half accepted as part of my life. "Claire," I muttered, my heart plummeting. "It's him." The revelation tore through the air like an unholy wind, sending ripples through our fragile unity. And as I stood there caught between the past and a present that threatened to shatter, I couldn't shake the feeling that nothing would ever be the same again. The fluorescent lights of the hospital hallway blurred as I stumbled forward, my heart racing in sync with the echoes of footsteps behind me. Claire's presence was palpable, her trepidation mingling with my confusion as we maneuvered past stark white walls. I could feel her eyes darting towards the shadows ahead, and I knew, deep down, there was unspoken tension between us. "Sam," she whispered, her voice thick with anxiety. "We need to stick together. Whatever's happening, it's bigger than both of us." I barely nodded, still fixated on the figure lurking in the waiting area. A familiar face, twisted with uncertainty and remorse, a face I had associated with too many painful memories. For a moment, I felt the hope of familiarity collide with the weight of betrayal. "Why is he here?" I muttered, more to myself than to Claire. The figure stepped into the light, revealing a haggard version of my brother's closest friend, Ryan, a person I had thought I'd never see again after all that had transpired in our family's past. "Sam," he called, desperation staining his voice. "I didn't come here to cause trouble, I swear. I need to talk to you. It's about Derek." A sudden flare of anger ignited within me. How could he even mention Derek's name? "You think I want anything to do with you?" I snapped, struggling to keep my voice low. "You were part of the chaos that led us to this mess in the first place." "Exactly. That's why I need you to listen." Ryan stepped closer, the gravity of his expression startling in its sincerity. The nurse called for another patient, unknowingly cutting our moment short. "Sam, we don't have time for this," Claire hissed, gripping my arm. "Right now, we need to focus on Derek. If he's in danger, I won't let him suffer because of you." I shot back, my voice tinged with both fear and anger. "You brought this upon us, Ryan." "You were the one who I know," he interrupted, his voice cracking with the weight of regret. "That's why I'm here. They've found out about Derek. They know he's connected to what?" I pressed, demanding answers even as my heart felt clenched in my chest. The pain of knowing that someone might target my brother was unbearable. "The accident," Ryan said, his voice dropping to a whisper reverberating with urgency. "They believe he has something, they want something that could expose them. And they're not going to stop until they get it." In that moment, the world shifted beneath my feet, the walls of the hospital creeping closer, suffocating my breathing. "This is insane," I murmured, grappling with the implications of his words. Did Derek's accident mean something more than I had dared to believe? "Sam, you have to trust me," Ryan pleaded. "More than ever. Claire knows the stakes. This isn't just about what happened, it goes deeper than that, and they will hurt him if they find him." I turned to Claire, searching her face for confirmation, but all I saw was fear mingled with determination. "She's right," she said quietly, taking a step closer to Ryan. "We have to investigate. There may be a way to protect him." "What do you mean?" I asked, my shoulders tense. The idea of entangling our lives further with Ryan felt like a betrayal against every painful memory I had fought against. Yet the prospect of losing Derek, thrust into danger from forces unseen, hung over me like a storm cloud. "Look," Ryan continued, his cheeks flushed with desperation. "I have a lead. A source who knows about the situation. They can help us understand what exactly has put Derek in the crosshairs. We don't have much time. If we don't figure this out quickly, it won't just be Derek at risk anymore. I hesitated, weighing the potential consequences of involving Ryan further in our lives. There was a part of me that wanted to shut him out entirely, to preserve what was left of my sanity and my family. But could I afford the risk? What if he was right? Fine, I relented, feeling the weight of the decision descend upon my shoulders. But if this goes south, I let the threat linger in the air, unsure of what would happen if I let Ryan back into our lives. I get it, Ryan nodded, sincerity etched on his face. I'll do everything to make this right, I promise. We need to get to Derek first, then we'll deal with the details. As we made our way towards the ICU, I could hear whispers of the nurses speaking about his condition, their words dripping with both hope and despair. Everyone around us seemed to exist in a different sphere, neatly compartmentalizing their emotions while ours spiraled out of control. When we reached the room, I paused at the threshold, the sight of my little brother connected to tubes and machines constricting my chest. Tears flooded my eyes as I stepped inside, uncertainty overwhelming my resolve. Without warning, a low beeping sound from the heart monitor steadily increased, a reminder that Derek was fighting in ways I couldn't comprehend. With each gathering second, however, the tears turned into determination. I had to protect him. Suddenly, Claire's hand fell heavily on my shoulder. We need to keep our wits about us, Sam. Whatever darkness is coming our way, we can't allow it to touch him. Just as I took a calming breath, the room fell silent with a piercing interruption. The door swung open, and a figure cloaked in black entered. My skin prickled with dread as a chill swept through the air. This wasn't over, and now chaos was brewing just before us. "Find Derek," the newcomer said with a chilling calmness that sent shivers down my spine. "We have much to discuss." In that instant, the enormity of the moment crashed around us, plunging into uncertainty even deeper than before. My heart raced. Whatever lay ahead was an uncharted path leading straight into danger, and our delicate walls were about to be tested like never before. I never imagined standing here, shrouded in uncertainty and fear, the weight of everything binding us together, strangers, allies, and friends all gathered in this liminal space, held captive by destiny and a brother's life hanging by a fraying thread. As the figure in black strode in, an unsettling calm enveloped the room, the kind you sense before a storm hits. I glanced at Claire, her eyes wide and brimming with trepidation. Anna stood protectively in front of me, as if she could blockade whatever darkness this newcomer embodied. The ominous presence of the figure stirred a blend of dread deep within me. "What do you want?" I demanded, my voice steady despite the tremors coursing through my body. The questions pulsed in my mind, questions that tethered me to the memories of our shattered history, of Derek's vulnerability, and of my craving to guard those I loved, even if it meant facing a past riddled with shadows. That he fixed a steely gaze on me, his expression inscrutable. "I'm here for Derek. He's entangled in a situation far beyond your comprehension," he stated matter-of-factly, every word dripping with threats hidden beneath calm layers. "He needs to know what he's involved in, what I can offer him." "Whatever it is, you can shove it," Anna shot back, fists clenched at her sides, embodying the fierce protectiveness of our sisterly bond. Yet as I absorbed her fierce resolve, I couldn't overlook the flicker of uncertainty in her gaze. What if this stranger held answers we desperately needed? The stakes had never been clearer, and the darkness burdening each of us threatened to endure. "Right now," I interjected, grasping desperately at the threads of control, "all that matters is Derek's safety. We want to let you put him at risk." My voice trembled slightly, but I steeled myself, knowing we were on the precipice of answers that could unravel us or bind us tighter through love and understanding. That he laughed mockingly, and the sound cut through the room's tension like ice. "That's where you're mistaken." His gaze turned serious, pinning us. "Derek needs to hear the truth, and I can provide it if you're willing to cooperate. The time for heroes has passed. This is about survival now." Around us, the air thickened as each passing second felt weighted with dread. I searched through the fog of confusion for direction. The echoes of shared histories ran wild, a frenetic energy that tethered our fates. "What do you mean he's entangled? What have you done to him?" I pressed, every word laced with panic. He leaned closer, eyes narrowing with an unsettling intensity. Derek's accident wasn't merely an accident. It was orchestrated, a warning of sorts. He has something of great value, something that puts him in the crosshairs of another world entirely. A shiver ran down my spine at the gravity of his words, gripping Anna's arm tightly. Derek had been simply innocent, caught up in our chaotic lives. How could a young boy possess anything so powerful? Ask yourself what is worth more than life itself in this broken reality. What are you insinuating? Claire whispered, her breath catching in her throat. What do you want from us? I want Derek, he said simply, as though that was enough for us to understand. But I also need you to realize the stakes at play. You're all involved now. The shadows of the past shuffled around us, a palpable recognition of all we had tried to forsake, now surfacing with Sisyphusian determination. Never, I spit back, my heart racing. We're not your pawns. There's no need for games here, he countered curtly, his voice becoming cold like glass. There's no choice left, only a path to follow. You can either resist and face the consequences or accept the offer and save him from what's to come. His life hangs in the balance. As the severity of his words washed over me, I caught movement from the hospital room's corner, an unexpected intrusion. A nurse stepped in, inexplicably lit up by the tired luminescence of fluorescent lights. Her face was pale, as if the vividness of the world faded under the pressure of our swirling emotions. Excuse me. She interjected hesitantly, breaking the palpable tension. Dr. Elkins has an update regarding Derek's condition. You need to come with me. Instinctively, I glanced at Anna and Claire, who both shared a resolute look. If we didn't act now, the stakes would only escalate deeper into a chasm we had not yet begun to navigate. We moved quickly past the figure in black, urgency fueling my steps. In that moment, hope and fear spiraled as one, growing heavier as I questioned what awaited us within the walls of Derek's room. The incomprehensible world beyond my understanding loomed ahead, shrouded in uncertainty. Inside the room, I felt a wave of nausea as I took in the sight of my brother, frail and limp, breathing rhythmically through a ventilator. The machines surrounding him hummed softly, but a deep dread nested in my heart. He lay unaware of the impending storm swirling around him, and my resolve surged to protect him from everything threatening to pull him under. Derek? I whispered, my voice nearly breaking. I'm here, buddy. We're going to fight for you. As I clasped his hand in mine, a strength ignited within, bursting open a dam of love and fierce protectiveness. Dr. Elkins, I began, turning to the doctor who had stepped in behind the nurse. Tell me he's going to be all right. The doctor regarded me with a stern expression. We need to run more tests. The accident complications have arisen. He's stable, but there's a significant risk. I breathed deeply, trying to swallow my spiraling fear while maintaining contact with Derek. My grip tightened around him as if my love could transfer into strength. Mom? Derek murmured weakly, as if he were slipping between realms. Where are you? Each syllable emanated heard a reflection of his acceptance that life was rarely kind. The image of him lying there shattered me, even as I willed strength from deep within. Derek. I urged, shaking him slightly. You have to stay with us. We're right here, and we'll fight together. In that moment, I felt a crack in the walls we had built, a glimmer of vulnerability and trust as he slowly opened his eyes, as if breaking the chains binding him. Are we safe? He murmured, head heavy against the pillow. Maybe, I reassured him, trying to maintain that hope coursing through me. But we need to stay close, all of us, because there's something more going on here. We've got to fight together. The intermingling of our fears began to swell and transform, resonating within our makeshift clan. In that moment, I grasped the expansive support we would need to reclaim our future, soaring through time, turbulent but unyielding, persevering alongside one another like the kin we were born to be. As we left Derek's room, the figure in black awaited just outside the door, ominously watching us through shadowed eyes. The decisions ahead promised uncertainty, but beneath the haze of despair, I finally embraced the undeniable truth. Love could reshape our destinies, binding us in ways we never imagined. But at what cost? Were you all in or out? He asked. There's no turning back, I replied resolutely. Whatever comes, we're ready to fight. My heart drummed in my chest, fear and hope intertwining as silence filled the air. We would redefine our story and come back from the darkness stronger than before. As we faced the figure, I felt the tether of something deeper anchoring within us all, something that whispered beneath the noise, waiting to be unraveled and explored. Love and chaos might intertwine, but there would always be a flicker of courage lighting the path forward, beckoning us to embrace the next chapter of our lives. Let us begin together. We stepped forward, whether down this uncertain path or into the depths of danger. We were entering the storm, united and resolute like a family forged not just by blood but by an unrelenting will to rise above it all.